Hey guys, I hope you're having a good day. Today I've got a special treat in store for us because we're going to tint the focus just like the pros do. Now you might be wondering, I'm not a pro, how am I going to tint this car like the pros do? Well, that's because I've called a professional. Now the guy who's coming, he's tinted about 4 previous cars for me, so he's very good. He's been doing this for many years, and I wanted to make a video about how to remove the old tint from your car and then put the new tint back on. But I quickly came to the conclusion that that's probably not a good idea, and the reason that is because a lot of people tend to have mixed results when taking the old film off. You can leave a lot of residue behind that the tint uses to adhere to the glass. So I didn't want some sort of rookie how-to video on how to go about doing that process. So instead I thought, you know what, I'm going to call this guy out and I'm going to show you all how the professionals do it, what the tips of the trade are, and basically so that you can do this yourself at home. Alright, so with that said, this video is going to be about how to remove the old tint from your car just like the pros do and put the new tint on, and what sort of film to use.
Before we get started, I thought I'd show you the actual condition of the current tint on the car. Now from 10 feet away it looks fine, but the closer you get and the more you look, as you can see, quite a few bubbles have developed over time. These have also started peeling away, leaving the residue behind. But the biggest reason why I want to change this tint is because it has gone quite murky. As you can see from the inside of the vehicle, it's actually quite hard to see out. This in itself is the biggest reason why I want to get rid of this. I'm not going to say it's super dangerous, but if you are looking to read something out of one of these windows, chances are you're not going to be able to because it's just way too murky as it is. So I'm going to get this changed out. I'm going to show you every step of the way professionals do it. But before Vin arrives and we get started with that, I'm going to take the door cards off for him just so that this process is a bit easier. If you haven't done this before, there's just a bunch of screws all the way along the edge of the panel that you'll need to unscrew. Then there's another screw hiding just in there behind the door lever. Then unclip this door handle cover, which hides 2 more Phillips head screws. And that's it. So basically you just need a Phillips head and maybe a small flathead screwdriver to pry open the screw cover underneath the door handle. Here's a quick time lapse of the process. Now that the door trim is off, you can clearly see where the window tint ends. Now the reason they put the window tint further down than the door trim is so that when you wind the window up and down, the window tint never goes past the door trim itself, otherwise it would catch on the door trim and eventually dislodge from the window. So this is why you need to remove the door trim, and it's going to make taking the window tint off a lot easier. And then quickly doing the other door as well, and pulling the car into the garage so that we work on the shelter and we're ready for Vin to arrive. Hello big fella. So in terms of carrying out this job, you basically divide the whole process into 3 sections. You would take the tint off, you would prep the glass, and then you would put the tint on. If you're only removing tint, you're basically only doing the first 2 phases, taking the tint off and then cleaning up the glass or prepping the glass. And then if you're retinting the car, you'd obviously do the last step as well, which is putting the tint on. So I've divided everything into 3 different segments here. So with tint off, I was quite surprised to see that Vin doesn't use a heat gun. A lot of videos out there promote using a heat gun or a hairdryer to take the old tint off. And whilst this is something that he used to do in the past, it's not something that he uses anymore, just because apparently a steamer does a lot better job at performing this task. Here, I'll let him explain.
20 years ago I used to use a heat gun to
take this stuff off?
Yeah, off. It's so hard.
Is it? It's harder with a heat gun.
It just melts the tin away. This one's more forgiving.
How long have you been doing this, Vin?
28 years.
28 years, wow.
1992.
So Vin, what's the steam doing? Is it just softening the glue, or is it doing other stuff as well?
They use the same thing as taking off the wallpaper
Uh-huh.
in the house. Yeah, it just softens it up and it separates the glue away from the window, but the glue is still left behind there. You can see
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So that's why you're gonna need the solution later on, eh?
Yeah.
So there you go, and then once the tint is off, you basically need to clean up the glass with the following tools. You would need some glue remover, you'd need some steel wool that needs to be quite mild and very fine, just so that you don't scratch the glass. And then you would also need a razor scraper. Now this is a specific type of razor scraper. You need something with a plastic handle to avoid scratching any of the panels of the car. You'd also need carbon steel blades, so this is very important. You don't want just regular metal blades. You need carbon steel blades because apparently this stops you from scratching the glass. And then with putting the tint on, you're going to need a knife blade. Again, you've got to be really careful in what metal you use in the blade. It should be stainless steel. You're going to want a heat gun. You'll want some soapy water in a spray container. You'll want a squeegee to iron out any of the bubbles, and you'll want the tint, obviously. So this is ceramic, did you say?
Ceramic film.
Ceramic film.
It's the latest ceramic film. It blocks a lot more heat out.
Oh,
compared to the
okay.
Standard carbon film. It's been out for a while with the commercial house and office,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, they started to build for the
Start to make for automotive.
blocks out up to 64% of heat.
Wow. Which is like heaps better than it used to be, eh?
Yeah, a lot thicker, blocks out more radiant heat.
And these come in like all the shades, just like the other films?
All different shades, yeah. 35, 20, 15, 5.
So there you go, those are the tools you're going to need for this job, and with that all said, here's a quick montage of this whole process, starting with removing the old tint.
You've got to be careful. Some of the film, most of the film, they've got two layers.
So you got the plastic.
Yeah, most of the film has got 2 layers, and you think you've got it off,
Yeah.
then there's another layer behind it.
Oh wow, look at that.
But most of the time it comes off in one piece.
Yeah, right.
But this one comes off in 2 layers.
So most film is built like that, it's built in 2
Yeah.
layers. There you go. Once the film is off, it's time for phase 2, cleaning the windows and prepping them to receive new tint. So the type of glue remover used here is an ammonia-based glue remover. Phew.
This one stinks.
Yeah, it's got ammonia in it. You can smell the ammonia, hey.
Might die early.
You know, we've been to Egypt, we went to the pyramids, and we walked in, right? We went down to the bottom where the chamber was and stuff. And it reeked, it smelled like this, smelled like ammonia.
Yeah.
And we're like, what the, like, why does it smell like that in here? You know what it was? It was the guides and stuff, they don't have any toilets around.
Oh.
So they piss in the pyramids, yeah. It smells like this.
For a couple of minutes, let it soak a bit.
Okay, and then you gotta use the steel wool. Okay, yeah. Once the rear window has been cleaned with the steel wool, it's time to move to the front. And now you're going to switch to the metal blade. This is where it becomes really important to have a good quality blade that you switch out often.
You can tell once it starts to get old, this, you can see the streaks.
It's spotless, isn't it?
Yeah, it's spotless.
Just doesn't leave anything behind. Now notice how Vim is scraping along the edge of the door panel here. This is where it becomes important to have a plastic bodied razor scraper. If that razor scraper had a metal body, he would be scratching up the paint on the door. But because it's plastic, he's safe to go all the way to the edge and get right into the crevices without fearing any scratches on the car paint. So you try to swap them every window?
Make it easier for me. You can be a tight ass and keep one blade for the whole car, but yeah,
It's cleaner. Makes your job easier, right?
Especially getting the old glue off, you want to get everything off.
Yeah.
One little bit of glue left behind, you can't see it, but once you put the tin on, you can see it.
Yeah, and then it's tint off to fix it. And with the windows all cleaned up, it's time to put the tint on. To start with, what Vim is doing here is he's using the exterior side of the windows to cut the tint down to size and shape. So you're heating it up so the film becomes the shape of the glass.
Film molds the shape of the glass. 20 years ago we used to do this in 2 pieces.
Oh really?
Yeah,
So you'd split it in half?
in the middle, join it with a demister line,
God, that would have been tough.
slice it in.
So then you'd have to get the join super correct, eh? Would the film ever shrink and make a gap? Or it was pretty good?
No, it's pretty good. Yeah, it lasts a while. But back then, if I did the joins, if you didn't see where I joined it, you wouldn't have known.
Yeah, wow.
But now the film these days are a lot better.
Like it's heaps more malleable.
It can stand more heat. And these back windows are quite curvy.
Yeah. So why the piece of paper?
It's just when I heat it, the film sticks to the glass.
Oh yeah.
A bit like static.
Yeah.
So I just separate the film from sticking before in front of it.
Uh-huh. And that stops it from sticking to the glass.
Yeah. I don't normally use this, but these windows are really curvy.
Yeah. You can see the film kind of softening up. Yeah.
Shrinks to the shape of it.
Yeah, look at that.
You've got to know how much heat to put it.
Yeah. So too much and it melts.
Or just melt it. Yeah.
Well, and too little and it doesn't do anything. Huh? With some final trimmings done to the tint and a final clean and soapy solution applied to the window, it's time to put the tint on. So do you have to work quickly here, Vin, or it doesn't matter?
No, not really. That's why the soapy water
Yeah.
still gives you time to maneuver around.
Yeah, cool. Are you watching now for like any bubbles showing back up?
Yeah, what I normally do, I'll get the heat gun.
Mm-hmm. And then just do final bit.
Yeah, dry it, try to set the glue off a bit.
Yeah.
Around the edges. The heat gun sets the glue off a bit.
Nice. With the rear windows done, it's time to move on to the side windows on both sides of the car. Doing the other side of the car as well. And with that, we are done.
Alright guys, we're pretty much done. I hope you like what you saw. It's a pretty amazing result. I hope you liked what the car turned out like. I think it's amazing. Vin's done an awesome job here.
No worries.
So yeah, thanks very much, mate. Do you have any tips for the guys at home?
Yeah, just after it's been done, after it's tinted, don't wind the windows down. Give it 24 hours to dry before you wind the windows down. And you see like little water blisters, water blotches. That's just the moisture still stuck between the tint and glass. It takes about a week to clear out properly. The sun slowly evaporates away the moisture between the tint and glass, and it'll settle down flat to the glass.
Beautiful. Yeah, mate, thanks a lot. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, this is the 4th car Vin's done for me, and you know, I can't speak highly enough for the results. So yeah, I wanted to show you guys this process. Like I said, this is best done by the pros, and that's why I got the pros out. So yeah.
Have I missed something? Do you have anything to add? Don't forget to leave a comment below to let me know. Also, if you'd like to see more content from this channel, click subscribe and don't forget to hit the bell to be notified when I post up anything new.
I hope you like what you saw, and go ahead and follow this video at home if you like. Cheers.